I think we need to be very frank about this. The IBC said for you to be a presidential candidate, or for you to win a presidential election, a candidate should spend an average of 4.4 billion Kenya shillings. Now, we in this country can raise 4.4 billion so that you can be a credible presidential candidate. A lot of people have announced they have even gone on ballot as presidential candidates. Very good material. Have you forgotten James Orengo? He was a presidential candidate in 2002 with the SDP, isn't it? How many votes did he get? Yeah. So it's not just a question of ideas. You also have to have resources to mount a credible campaign across the country. And that's where the rich people become important. You need their support for you to win the elections in this country. So we might dismiss those Mount Kenya Foundation people as business people who are interested in, supporting and, first protecting their wealth and guaranteeing that protection in the incoming regime. So you try to capture the presidential candidates, at this stage. But that's a reality. If they back you up, you are more likely to get the resources to win that campaign. You are more likely to get support to reach the people, to reach the masses. When you see the crowds that you see being mobilized by either of the presidential candidates, those crowds cost money, isn't it? Even media is expensive. For you to be on television every day and the page one of the nation, it costs. So you cannot dismiss or separate, the Mount Kenya Foundation and the campaign. So for you to get the backup of the Mount Kenya Foundation means that you're going to have around a voice, you're going to have around a campaign, etc. So I don't dismiss them the way they are being dismissed. And two, we are saying we are going to create employment. How are we going to create employment? The Royal Media employs a lot of people, isn't it? They are employers. Others are people who manufacture cement. You have a lot of workers working for cement. Others are contractors. So you create employment by supporting industrialists, by supporting big businesses, because you create opportunities, that way. So for me, I don't dismiss them, but I think the agenda is how do you create wealth and also empower those without. And I think that is the thin line, the balance we have to talk. The deputy president is our friend. He talks about empowering Mama Mboga, empowering Mkokoten and other people. That's fine. But how, when you carry these people in the wheelbarrow, when you carry your stuff in a wheelbarrow, where will you be taking it? You'll be taking it to a construction site, isn't it? Who owns that building? Where you are taking it. Is it not the Mama Mboga? The one who owns the building will be somebody else's money. And maybe after you finish that building, you'll be building another one. Yeah, so I think for the country to progress, you have to look both at the top and the bottom as well. First I said Mount Kenya Foundation comprises of wealthy people, people with money. So money is important. In fact, when J.F. Kennedy was asked, uh, what's the most important item in a campaign, he said there are three things. He said number one is money, number two is money, number three is money. And that's how he won the presidential candidate in the US. So you cannot discount money in an election, especially a presidential election. And it is in that context that me, I don't lightly dismiss the Mount Kenya Foundation, because I know who employed it and how it works. And they have very keen interest in who runs the country, because I think the rich people stand to lose most, if a regime falls in enemy hands, enemy goods. Yeah. So I think Mount Kenya Foundation is important in that respect. And they will do their best. They will not want somebody to come to power, who comes either to destroy their wealth or their property, or block their business opportunities. I think many of them, those you talk to, remember the days of the President Moi. I can give you a specific example. See, SK Masharia. Yes, you remember those days he was building 800 million plant at Thika as Madhupepa International. But although you had IFC funding and the KCB was supporting the project, because it was on the wrong side of politics, the project was killed. It was almost reduced to a pauper by the Moi regime. And he is a member of the Mount Kenya Foundation. Now, having learned from that, don't you think he is very interested in who occupies a state, also that this media empire of his does not have the same challenges in the future? So there are those considerations that they are taken into account. As you know, I'm still a member of Jubilee. Even as we are disappointed and disillusioned with the Jubilee, we are still members of Jubilee. But we are looking ahead at 2022. What parties are we going to use, as our electoral vehicles, for that election? And it is in that context that we are supporting the formation of the new party for our region, the Mount Kenya East region, or national party, but led from this side of the mountain. In the same context that even the Deputy President, William Ruto, is also a member of Jubilee, but he is also supporting UNDA as his vehicle for the next election. So you should see us in the same context. Yeah, so I'm not a member of the new party, I'm a member of the Jubilee, but I will use the new party come the next general elections. I'm the one who did the agreement for the 13 parties, which collapsed to form the Jubilee Party. That agreement was to run for 5 years, from 16th of September 2016. So the 5 years have already expired. The 5 years expired in September. What that agreement had said was that the names and the symbols of the 13 parties which collapsed to form Jubilee will not be available until after 5 years, until after the 2017 elections, and passed. So since the 5 years have elapsed, all those names, all those symbols, which had been dissolved, during the Jubilee party merger are now available. So what those ones who are forming the new party for region have done is to go for the symbol, which could not be available before September, but is available now. So the bus party, the bus symbol is available. And as we've been saying, those who are forming it are now in the process of servicing the bus, buying new tires, alafu it will put petrol, and it will very soon be on the road. Yes. So even TNA could be available, even URP could be available. So all those parties which we collapsed are now available for registration. But the party is not available in the original form. It has to be registered afresh. So what the new members of the bus have done is to pick another party, RBK. So they changed its name to Devolution Empowerment Party, DEP. The focus being, to strengthen devolution, to fight for more resources, to come to the counties, to empower the people at the grassroots. So that's the main philosophy of the new party. And then the symbol bus, because it's popular in the region, that's why they decided to pick it. Now, if you recall, Mr. Justice Muturi first came to Meru as a guest of the Njurincheke elders. I was not present at that meeting. My colleague, Peter Munya, who is a member of Njurincheke, was the one who was present in the meeting. And in that meeting, they appointed Justin Muturi as a spokesman for the region. The feeling being that President Uhuru Kenyatta is the spokesman for the country. He is the one who represents all the interests of Kenya, and therefore he could not adequately represent the interests of our region, because he has to represent the interests of other regions as well. So it is in that context that Muturi had been appointed by the Njurincheke to be the spokesman. And you remember, he went to meet the elders from the other side of the mountain in a controversial visit to Mokoro Gadang in Muranga. Then he went to Nyeri and those other places. So that's how he started. Now later on, he decided to become a presidential candidate, which we have no problem with. And you remember one time I stayed at Serena Hotel, and borrowing the Chinese saying, let 100 flowers blossom, and we are going to pick the best. So we said, Muturi is our flower. We from the Mount Kenya East. But it was a flower to be planted in a garden where other flowers are. And as Kenyans, we would pick the best, the best flower. So, Muturi is there, just like other presidential candidates are there. And we are looking at all of them, and we'll pick the best. It is true, I know I have worked with all the presidential candidates. All those people are seeking presidency in 2022. They were either my cabinet colleagues, or I worked with them in one party, or another. Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka was my classmate at the law school, at the university, and also at the law school. We have been in Musalia in Parliament for about 20 years. He was Minister for Local Government when I was Minister for Energy. Same with William Ruto. William Ruto was our colleague, Minister for Agriculture, Minister for Higher Education when I was Minister for Energy, Minister for Justice also. Raila was Minister for Roads, and later became a Prime Minister, and we worked well with them. Now, they all want to be president, and I must confess to you that I have a problem of choosing between friends. Yeah. So if I was looking at personalities, then it will be very, very difficult. You know, choosing on the basis of people I know very well. Now that's why I'm saying, let's go beyond personalities. Let us look at what these candidates stand for. I know right now there's a contest. Everybody is talking the economic language of the poor. How we are going to empower Mama Mboga, how we are going to empower the Bonda riders, how we are going to provide some stipend for the unemployed, and all that. And I've seen that as listened to all of them. And these days, Kenyans, even those unemployed Kenyans, many of them are university graduates. They are people who understand issues. So let's listen to all of them, and then we retreat and analyze and see who can come in first and bring the country together, because unity and peace is a precondition for anything else you are talking. And two, you can have a radical transformation agenda, for this country. So I think these are the things that we should be looking at. And, as a candidate, you can make any promise, because promises are cheap. They don't cost you anything. I can say, as the president, I'm bringing the moon down to Kenya. It does not cost me anything, isn't it? I can say I can remove Mount Kenya, so that we can see each other well with the people in Nyeri. Again, doesn't cost me. So mere promises can be made by anybody. So we should go beyond the promises people are making. Then we look at their past, look at their track record. Do you have capacity to do those things that you're saying you're going to do? Two, there's a question we call winnability. You might have very good ideas, but unless you can win the political power, the ideas remain ideas. They will never be implemented. So the question of your capacity to win or your inability also becomes very important. And I think Kenyans should also look at that. Who is that? Who is promising, but who can also win, so that what is promising can happen, can be actionable. Yeah. So it is not an easy debate, and I would say the old canon days, when a politician will come from Nairobi and say Kiraitu, then everybody says Jew. And he says, so and so chini, everybody says chini. Those days are gone. Time has come, politics have become more complex, the society has become more sophisticated, so we need a little more convincing beyond Jew and chini.